So originally I was going to do my video on the current state of United States Navy battleships. This is kind of a topic that is near and dear to my heart, being primarily a battleship player. However, the more and more I thought about it, the more I said to myself, well, if I'm going to get into United States battleships, I'm probably going to be talking about the other battleships in the game, so instead of doing just the state of United States battleships, let's do a current state of battleships in World of Warships, as it pertains to all battleships in World of Warships. So this is going to be a little bit of stat-heavy commentary. Hope that's okay with you, but it's important nonetheless. Especially now that German battleships have been in the line for quite a while. Not a real long time, but they've been in for a bit. Been in for a minute. So, without further ado, I'm going to start talking about each tier and how I think they play out and what I think the strengths in the battleships within those tiers are. I'm using a couple metrics to rate these by, 4 to be exact. I'm going with the win ratio, damage statistics, survivability, and XP for the battleships. Bottom line is the stats don't lie, and I think there's a lot of shortcomings in the battleship lines right now that need to be addressed. Very, very important right there. So in Tier 3, you've got the South Carolina, the Kawach, and the Nassau. This is hands down Germany all the way. The Nassau, it's not even close. The Nassau leads every single one of those categories with 51.76% win rate, 30,000 damage. That's insane because the Kawach only averages 18,000 damage and the South Carolina only 17.8. Now bear in mind, all these stats are North America only. I pulled these stats for only North America, but I would imagine they're similar across the board. In the future I might go and take a look and see if they hold true for the other regions, but that's what we're going with. And again, XP for the Nassau is leaps and bounds ahead of the other two ships. There's your Tier 3. You can already see that German battleships are leaping out in front of their peers. Tier 4, you've got the Wyoming, the Miyagi, and the Kaiser. Again, German battleships. Kaiser has a 51.7% win rate, 38k damage. Miyagi, and Wyoming, respectively, 23.1k damage and 27. Again, the German battleships in the early tiers are just blowing away the other counterparts. Moving up to Tier 5, the New York, Congo, and König. Again, German battleship supremacy. The König has a 51.8% win ratio. It averages 43,000 damage to the Congo's 33k and the New York's 28k. Ladies and gentlemen, something is not right here. Germany is just leaps and bounds ahead of the other two countries. It gets worse. It gets a lot worse. Moving on to Tier 6. One of my favorite ships, the New Mexico. How does that stack up against Japan and Germany? New Mexico hasn't cracked 50% in its win-loss ratio in North America. Damage is somewhat respectable at 38,000, but Bayern has 46k average damage. The Fuso is close, 44.9 thousand. And lagging way behind, 10,000 hit points behind, is New Mexico at 38.1k. Moving up to Tier 7, things don't get any prettier for the US because you got the Colorado. Colorado has a 48.4% win-loss ratio, puts out 41,000k damage. That's not good. That's not good when you're looking at the Nagato with the 50.2% win ratio. Nagato also has 48.7 thousand damage. And then you look at Germany. Again, you've got the Gneisenau. 51.46% win-loss ratio. 51.7 thousand average damage per round. Puts out 1,221 XP. Leaps and bounds ahead of the other two. Let's move on to Tier 8. Is this going to get any better for the US? Because I absolutely love the North Carolina. It's a great ship in ranked. It's a great ship in all gameplay. I mean, it's a heavy hitter. But again, 49% win-loss ratio. Average damage of 50,000. Bismarck has a win-loss ratio of 53%. It averages 63,000 damage. The Amagi's not that bad. 51.93% win-loss ratio. And it also puts out a respectable 58,000 damage, but still, it's not up there with Germany. At Tier 9, again, Germany, the clear leader. Friedrich der Große, 51.52% win-loss ratio. 66,000 average damage. an average of 1,470 XP per round. The Izumo isn't even close to 50%. It's lagging at 48.85% win-loss ratio. It only puts out 56,000 damage. The Iowa does slightly better in the damage category at 57,000, but again, its win-loss ratio isn't above 50%. And then you get to Tier 10, and this is the only place that Germany is not the clear leader in all battleships. That belongs to the Yamato, which wins every single category hands down. 51.81% win-loss ratio, 87,000 average damage, 45% survivability, and 1,689 average XP per round. Yeah, Germany's somewhat close. Actually, Germany's fairly close. The Grosser Kurfürst, 51.72% win-loss ratio, 85.8 thousand average damage. Montana, though, you look at the Montana, 77,000 average damage, lagging behind. I did a little matrix for myself and circled all the winners in every single category. Germany, out of those 4 categories, let's see how many statistics I circled. 23. It is the leader in 23 categories. Japan lags behind. It only leads in 9 categories. And then at the very bottom of the barrel, you've got the United States Navy. The United States Navy leads in 1 category and 1 category only at 1 tier. And that's the USS Iowa. The Iowa has a survivability of 40%. That is the best survivability out of Tier 9 battleships. Is that something to be proud of? Well, I guess for the United States Navy it is. You're winning in something at least. Now it's interesting because as far as survivability is concerned, Japan is the clear leader in that. Japanese battleships out of all the tiers have that statistic in 5 of them. Germany only has 2 and they're at the lower tiers. The Nassau at 36% survivability and the Kaiser at 41% survivability. But as far as XP production, Germany leads in every single tier except Tier 10, where the Yamato is the undisputed king of the seas. Again, Germany leads every single tier in average damage except Tier 10. And Germany also leads every single tier in average win-loss ratio except, once again, Tier 10. Now you can't tell me there's not an issue here. Especially when you look at the United States battleship line, and not a single one of those ships in North America, not a single one, has over a 50% win-loss ratio. Not one of them. The closest, the absolute closest, the USS Iowa at 49.58%. That's sad. That is not something to be happy about. And I love the United States battleship line. I absolutely love it. I love the North Carolina. I love the Iowa. I like the Montana a lot, but I don't love it. I can't love it because at Tier 10, there's just 2 better battleships out there to play. And I haven't even unlocked Grosser Kurfürst yet. I played it, I play tested it, and again, it can take a beating and has over 100,000 hit points. What does the Montana have that the Grosser Kurfürst does not? It has nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that is the problem with the United States battleship line. It has nothing. There is no reason at this point to play the United States battleship line over any of the other 2 battleship lines. There's no reason to play it over the Japanese battleship line, and there's definitely no reason to play it over the German battleship line, unless you are like me and you just absolutely love battleships. That is the only reason to do it, to grind it, to get Tier 10 for some personal satisfaction. But aside from that, there is no reason to play the US battleship line. I hate to say it, but it just flat out sucks compared to the other 2 lines, and especially the German line. The US battleship line used to have its anti-aircraft capabilities. It still has it. But guess what? There's no more CVs in the game. I'd say maybe 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10 games have a CV in them. So yeah, you can't even use that powerful asset. Now I will say that I think the Missouri is a step in the right direction. Giving it radar. Maybe that's what Wargaming needs to look into. I mean, the German battleships have their turtleback armor. That's what they have. It's hard to citadel those things, nigh impossible. And they also have secondaries. Do the US ships have that? No, absolutely not. They're squishy. The Iowa, North Carolina, and Montana can get citadeled like no other from the side. There's nothing special about that. Maybe giving them radar is the key. Give US battleships radar. Give them something to make them special. Give them a reason for people to want to play them. Because honestly, after grinding 96% of the line, everything except the Grosser Kurfürst right now, which I'm rapidly approaching, I have no desire to go back and play any US battleship again, other than the Missouri because it prints credits. That is the only reason why I'd look at it. Even the Imperial Japanese Navy line, which for a time was really, really good, is starting to look somewhat lackluster compared to the German line. So there are definite balance issues right here. There are definite issues. And you can say, oh, the German battleships haven't been in long. Maybe the good players are only playing them, but I say that's bull. They've been in the game long enough to get a baseline. And in North America, at least, they are leaps and bounds ahead of the other two lines. They are number one, Japan is number two, and the US line, my beloved US battleships, are way down at the bottom. Again, not one US battleship has over a 50% win-loss ratio. Let that sink into you right now. Let that sink in, digest that, and then tell me there's not a balance issue. Tell me there are no issues right now with the United States battleship line. I seriously hope people look at this. I seriously hope Wargaming looks at this and does something about it. Because again, right now, there's no reason to play the United States battleship line whatsoever, unless you absolutely love those ships, and that's why you want to play them. Just for the sake of playing them and grinding it out. Because aside from that, they just absolutely get outplayed, outgunned, out-armored, out everything else. So that's my take right now, guys. That's my current state of all three battleship lines. That's the current state of battleships. It's German supremacy. It's German supremacy, followed by the IJN line, lagging way behind is the US, which has some serious issues right now.